I'm going to make a double stitched fishtail. I like to call it my pinstripe bracelet. Kind of a cool, unique look. I've decided there's a few little tricks to make it better. As you can see, the center kind of dips in a little bit, which, I mean, it is a fishtail, that's what happens. But I've found a way of stitching it. We're going to stitch 4 separate stitches. So one pink on each side, and then encase it in the white. In the case of this bracelet, we're not going to be pink and white today, but I found when I did the center as one stitch, crossing back and forth from both sides, it really made the center sink in. And I didn't like the look of it, so I'm going to show you how I do it this way, and let's get started. So I need a bracelet for a 6-inch wrist, and there's lots of video. There's a video that'll show you how to do this with the formula. So we have a 6-inch wrist. We're going to add pi times the thickness of the bracelet, and this one happens to be 3/8. I don't remember if it's a 3/85 or a 3/89. It's a 3/85. So let me stop right there and tell you why I'm a big believer in this. So a regular fishtail, you can use the add 1 inch to your wrist and it works out just great. I've made many a fishtail and they fit. As soon as I stitched it, however, somehow, because of the stitching pulling the center together, it makes it thicker. But when it makes it thicker, it also makes the inside diameter of the bracelet smaller. So I've done this trial and error many times, had a bracelet fit great, stitched it. One stitch it still fit, but when I put the second set of stitches on, it was too tight. So we're going to use that number right there. And so that's going to become 1.20. I'm going to change that to 1 1/4. So we're going to have a 7 1/4 inch bracelet. I've already set my jig over here to that size. I mentioned some of my other videos, I have pictures, but what I do is I'll make the bracelet, mark the ends, measure about 1 inch, and unweave back and figure out how much I use. This case I use, if it was a 2-color bracelet, I would use 5 1/4 inches for each color. Since it's a 1 color, I'm going to use 10 1/2. So my 7 1/4 inch bracelet by 10 1/2, I need 76, don't put the dot there, and 1/8. And then I've got 4 core strands in this by 7 1/4 long. That comes out to be 29 inches, so I'm going to add those two numbers together for a grand total of 105 inches and 1/8. And that comes out to be approximately 8 3/4 feet. But I didn't have the color green that we're going to use today, so I had to go to my local store and I rounded it up. I bought 10 feet. So we're going to have plenty of extra today. But I'm going to move this paper out of the way. All my chicken scratches. Get that out of there. Alright. There's our 5/8 inch plastic buckle. Take my center of my cord, I'm going to push it up from the back side of the buckle up. And then I'm going to pull my working ends through that loop and make me a cute little cow's hitch. Snap that onto the jig. Other end into the jig. Let's bring this down here so we can see what's going on. Okay, the left side cord from the top down. I want the working end to come to the inside and cross over. And then we're going to come from the back side up and bring that through this little loop that we've created. Okay, I'm going to pull the center cord tight, hold it in place while I tighten my cow's hitch up. Just keep working things till you get this. I like this tight. I don't want it too floppy. Sometimes it's difficult to get the right tension on there, especially on the camera. I can't hide away and do my little tricks when you're watching me. Okay, same thing. I'm going to go to the inside, cross over, take this. I'm going to take this buckle off. Make it a little easier to work with. Push all those cords to the side. If I get over here in the white background, you can see. If I manipulate those, now I've got a pretty good size hole. I can. Another tip I forgot to mention, I melt the ends and flatten them so that they are easier to work with. Just a little pair of pliers, a little squeeze while they're still hot. Okay, speaking of my pliers, add a little better grip with them. There we go. And just like the other side, we're going to pull that through the loop. And like I mentioned on some of the other videos, there's plenty of ways to attach this to the buckle. There's no one right way. I just like the looks. This is hard to see in the black, but the double cow's hitch, I like the way it looks. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, the male side of the buckle is complete. We're going to flip the jig around. And then we're going to take these working ends from the top down. Squish everything over to the other side from the top. Okay, I don't need the needles right now, but I'm going to put them on anyway just because fishtail, I kind of like having my needles, my fids. Ooh, that's warm. Just makes it a little easier to make as we go. So I'm going to put that on that side. So all that work to flatten these ends, just to put them on the buckle, and I'm going to undo it already. What are you thinking? I'm thinking I like it like that. We're going to make a fishtail now. We've got our buckles loaded, both cords going in from the back. All I'm going to do is split the core in the center, and you got to start with the right hand side because you just have to. Stick the right hand side through the middle, the left hand side through the middle, underneath that, pull it up. As you snug it up, make sure that the cores don't cross. Everything's looking good. And then we just repeat this process ad nauseum, over and over and over. I'm only going to do this a couple times and then we'll find a way. I'm hoping this stitching video is going to be shorter than my last one. I've tested a few things, worked out good, so we're going to do it that way. Now with the fishtail, snug, even, consistent tension, not overly tight. It will, hello, it will even out a little bit more as we stitch, as we're working each cord individually. It'll help them come to rest a little bit. Kind of like when you're cooking a good steak, you don't just bring it right in. And I need to shut the notifications on my phone off. That's kind of annoying. But just like I was saying, as we work these, it'll help the cords come to rest where they want, but I'm still gonna watch my tension, make sure the sides are nice and straight and flat, because I'm mildly OCD or majorly OCD, one or the other. I don't know. Okay, well, I am going to do a little bit of camera magic, and we'll get back together here in a minute. We have gotten our bracelet pretty much to this point, and as you can see, I told you I was going to have plenty of extra. I bought 10 feet instead of the 8 3/4. We're not quite done yet. Another tip with the fishtails to make them the best you can, nice and consistent, is now at this point I'm going to take the cord, hold on to this buckle tight, and pull everything up to the top buckle as tight as I can. Working down the sides to keep things kind of straight, consistent. And as you can see, that gave us approximately another inch of weave we can do. And this is where having the needles already installed, like I say, you didn't have to have them early on. You don't have to have them now. You can use hemostat, pair of pliers, whatever you need to get it through the core. But these were cheap binding posts from Lowe's, and I ground them down on a plier. Ground them down on a sanding disc. I put them initially I put them in a drill and used a file to get the shape, and then finished them off on a sanding wheel. But that's one of the secrets to making these nice and tight like a tiger. Alright, similar to what I did with my stitched cobra, I'm going to shoot this up the back side and kind of hide my end a little bit. So There I've gone, what have I gone, about 4 or 5 cords, looks like 5. Do the same with the other side. This is where the downside of making it that tight comes into play. But any aggravation and pain caused by this step, that's 4, let's go one more, just because we have to. We did 5 on the other side, so we have to do 5. It's got to be even, right? I don't know how you could do it any differently. Let's put that down so I don't cut into my mat with my needle here. Holy cow. Yeah, that's a little tight. There we go. And this is probably where I was telling you earlier, I grabbed one of these with a pair of needle nose pliers and scarred it up. I was probably doing this. So let's see if we can get that sucker through there. We're going to get creative here. I'm going to use the other fid needle to push that through a little bit till it'll go out. There we go. Once you reach that breaking point, it's not too bad. Okay, I'm get that as close as I can to the bracelet. Then we're gonna kind of work the ends up in there just a little bit to hide the fray. Because I don't want to burn and have burn marks on the back side that might irritate. Alright, so let's see how close I was in my estimation. I thought I'd have about 8 inches per side. I've got 9 on one and 10 on the other. So the 8 3/4 definitely would have been perfect. So I haven't done this with a fishtail yet. So we're gonna do a little bit of a scrap piece and see how much cord it takes. I'll be right back. There we go. We got a good inch now. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to mark this where it comes out. And the other end, I didn't really tuck, it's just right there. So we'll just measure the entire length of it. So what I'm going to do now is unpick this. So there's my mark right there. And we're going to say this takes about 4 3/4 inches. If we round that up to 5, because I'm not that smart to do 4 3/4 in my head, 5 inches by a 6-inch bracelet would give me 30 inches per color per stitch. We talked about needles in my last video, but I like these Permalock. As you saw, I had 2. This one I've got tandy leather. It's got a little bit more of a blunt point. I like that better. Sometimes when cord breaks off in the little threads, it's hard to get them cleaned. I'm using welding tip cleaners. But that was partially why I bought second needle, partially to explore different patterns. I have a cobra where I used two colors and they came together in the center, and so I had to have two needles. I've been playing around a little bit with that, trying to find some new ideas. So it's beneficial to have the two. But you don't need Permalock needle. In fact, I started with a large knitting needle. If I dug through my box O junk there, I could probably find it. I have them in there, just in case. But we're not going to do that right now. Another little trick that I like to use when I get particularly frustrated because the threads inside the needle are so small. Once I get it in there, I'll just kind of warm the needle up just a little bit to melt the end of that paracord, the microcord, and keep it. Nope. Okay, I had a phone call. While I was on the phone, I finished getting my needle securely mounted on the microcord. So just like the stitched cobra, I'm going to come on the back side here and go up about 3 or 4. Let's see what we can get going on. There we go. And just put the microcord behind 3 or 4 of these. Pull it hard enough to get that little ball on the end hidden, but not pull it through. Okay, and then we're going to take the needle and go from the back side out to the front, pull all our microcord through. Okay, now comes the fun part. So my preference is to do every wrap of the 550 with the microcord. So we're going to start here, go under the first cord, so it should be just a single wrap like that. I'm going to go down to the next cord, and I want to make sure the needle comes out on top of or towards me from that cord, because we want to have the go from the outside in diagonally. But I want to make sure the cord's inside of that. You know what? I better. I moved my camera and I got to make sure I'm in the frame. When I get to this point, I grab the cord on both sides and I pull it towards the center so I get that in nice and tight. And then that's what we should have with our second stitch. One of the drawbacks of cutting the 5 feet that I did, this first side, you have lots of cord dangling around while you're stitching. So again, as I go through, I make sure I'm towards me from the old stitch. And as we get about 2 or 3 of these in here, you'll start seeing how it angles towards the center. Make sure there's no twists. Okay, I get it to this point, grab both sides of it, bring it to the inside. Alright, so now you can start seeing how it's residing on the left here of the inner cord, outer cord. This will become the inner cord. We want to make sure when I stitch it, it goes to the outer, to the left. A little bit left of center. Okay, so we'll go to the next cord, go underneath, make sure I'm to the left of, make sure there's no entanglements. Get it to this point, I'm going to grab it, pull it down to the center. And same thing with making the fishtail. We want it snug. You don't need to overly tighten. Okay, let's do one more, and then I'm not going to make you watch me painfully stitch this entire bracelet. One word of warning. These things take a fair amount of time, especially doing it the way I do as 4 separate stitches. What I could do would be to cross this over the center. Each stitch, it would cross back and forth and back and forth, but like I said, that kind of creates a very noticeable valley in the center. And when I've single stitch them, heck yeah, that's what I'm going to do. In fact, I think it looks better that way, single stitched. But when it's double stitched and you've got all of this pressing towards the center, it's very indistinguishable that that's 2 separate weaves. And I've got a couple little tricks, because you'll look at this now and you'll say, yeah, but that's not really in the middle. There's ways to fix that. We have to get both sides on, and then we'll manipulate them a little bit. Believe me, it'll look good. It's not going to look good. It's going to look awesome. So I'm going to continue stitching, and I'll probably sit and talk to myself like I did in the other video, but I'm not going to make you watch and listen to me talk to myself. We'll speed things up a little bit, and we'll chat again in a minute. So we've stitched almost all the way down. We're just going to finish. I've got 2 more stitches here, and they're going to go just like all the rest have. And it's funny, I was complaining early on with the long piece of microcord how much pain it kind of was keeping it from tangling, but I get down to the end here and I have about the amount that I should have started with, and then it just doesn't feel right. I like, oh, I'm not going to have enough, I'm going to run out on this side, and it's like, no, this is enough to do the other side as well. I don't know what that's all about. Every time I do this, I do that. I tell myself, ooh, I'm going to run out of cord. But as you can see, we've got one side kind of coming together. You can see definitely now the pattern I was talking about from outside to inside. We're going to just take this and shove it right through the center. Make sure there's no twisters in it. And we want to get on top of that cord as best we can. It'll do its own thing. Okay, just like I did the Cobra, just like we did with the other ends, the bracelet ends, we're going to tuck it under, a couple 3 cords, plenty. Make sure there's no twists, turns, knots, and we're just going to snip that guy right there. Okay, now I need kind of little ball, and I know that's difficult to see. White on white. How about I put that? Does that help? You can see there's just a wee little ball on the end there. That's just going to help lock us in to the cord on the other side. Okay, so I did this side. We're going to do the right side. Again, about 3 cords. Just like that. Where am I? Oh, you know what I was going to do? I wanted to measure this and see how my measurements went if I guesstimated my cords. So we're 3 cords in. We're just going to go right there. There's my 30 inches. So we got 32.5 left. And we guesstimated about 30 inches to do it. And I had 2.5 overestimated, so we should end up with about 5-inch piece of scrap, which is okay. Like I say, I'd rather have 5 inches of scrap than be 5 inches short, although there are ways of splicing that in unnoticeably. I've never had to do that. Oh wait, yeah, I have done that before. Okay, it's my bracelet. We're just going to do the same stitch on the other side now. So I'm going to take my needle, go under the first cord, there's my first stitch. And again, we're going to go 1 cord at a time. Make sure I come out above the level of that cord. And as you can see, it's definitely a lot easier to work with the shorter piece. There's not as much tanglement. We'll get a couple here so you can see how the pattern's going to look when it comes together. But I'm not going to make you watch me and listen to me ramble on. I don't know what I'd even talk about today. But you can see how they come together right now over me. And we'll manipulate those a little bit if we need to. The biggest thing is to make sure you don't impale the cord with the needle. Then it gets hard to move the microcord around if it's going through the sheath of the 550 cord. It's not going to want to move. But I think that is going to look good. A couple more stitches here and we'll finish the rest without you having to listen to me. I should have looked at the time when I started that other row. I'll look at the time now. I've got 20 minutes to 1. We'll see what time it is when I get the entire row stitched and come back. So I'll be back. That took me about 15 minutes. So 15, half hour, about an hour total stitching time. I know when I first started doing these, it was taking me close to an hour per side. So must be getting a little quicker, figuring things out. Okay, I'm down here at the end. I still got another stitch to go. Do that, and then we're going to do the same as I did. Get that up in the frame. We're just going to go right down through the center. Another thing to mention though, having a little bit of spare scrap left over, is it gives me room to stitch with. So I think this 5 inches extra is well worth what it cost me. We could extrapolate that out. 125 feet, it's $3.99, so $4 plus tax. And find out what 5 inches of cord cost. It's probably well worth it. Of course, I can't use my calculator because that's what I'm watching this on, making sure I'm in the frame. It's on my phone. I'm trying, this video is a little different. Hopefully we'll see how it works out. I'm using my sports action camera, and I might have to make a few changes because as I can see, my background doesn't quite match with the fisheye lens. It's a little wider angle than the camera on my phone. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully that's not too distracting to anybody. Probably didn't notice it till I pointed it out. If I just shut up, go. So yeah, let's see how much that is. It's not much at all. Where's the end of my... Yeah, 6 inches. Not too bad. Like I say, I could extrapolate that out and figure out the cost. So, like I was telling you before, sometimes there's going to be, and it's always at the end. This one I'm wearing, you can see, I couldn't, this was before I had the tool I have now that I use. I could never quite get this one to come together, but I'll have to, the original version, it was split clear up to about here, so I was able to push it together. I have a photo of that somewhere. So I have this handy dandy little tool. Anything would work that's kind of blunt. This is like kind of like a flat-bladed screwdriver, only really blunt. I mean, you can't see that in the camera, I don't think. Technically, it's a cuticle tool. Right there on the tip it says Revlon, of course. All you're getting is glare, probably. Got the scooped end on here. But all you got to do is, if you find places where it's not together, is you just take this little joint where the paracord comes through, or the microcord comes through the paracord, and push them together. So like I say, just about anything. Sometimes you can do it with your fingers. When we put the other cord, I mean, this is looking pretty good. If we put the second stitch on here, it's going to put that pressure on there and get that together. So let's take a look. Like I say, if I was to do only the one stripe, I would cross over the center line each stitch to prevent that line if I was only doing a single. So I don't know what I like to do while it's still hot. I moisten my fingers and I'll pull, and you can see it leaves a bit of a tail on there, really thin, and I can just kind of snap that off with my fingernails typically, but not so much today. We'll do that. But that usually gives me a nice tapered end that I can get into the needle fairly easy. Sometimes it works better than others. I don't know if you recall a couple minutes ago with the white, I was having issues. There we go. See, I'm not going to give it a Herculean tug, but a tug to pull it through the paracord. I don't want it to come out, and it's not. Going to start on the back side just like before. Go up 3. Pull it to the middle just so it's not, I don't want to have a chance of it becoming visible on the side. Okay, so we're up 3, just enough that the little ball end that I melted is secured between those cords. We'll find a spot to come out between. And I want to make sure when it comes out that it is above the white cord. So sometimes it takes a little playing around. Make sure we don't tangle my cord. And where is my camera frame? I keep moving. Keep that in the frame so you can see what I'm talking about, so I'm not just mumbling to myself, huh? Okay, so we are up from the back side, and you're never going to guess. It stitches just like we did the center stitch. Only one thing's different. It's not in the center. So I'm going to go under my first cord, come out to the right of, on top of, however you want to say it, the first cord. I'm going to get it to about this point and do like I did before, kind of push it to the center, and it'll push itself as we go, but again, we can take our tool after the bracelet's built and repair any spots that didn't go in the way we want. So under the next cord, make sure I come out to the outside of the yellow. Get that in there tight. Pull her down. I know technically the color code, they say this yellow is gold, but a lot of the stuff I've seen for the Green Bay Packers looks awful bright yellow to be gold. I think technically, officially, their colors are gold, but I don't know. I'm thinking that's going to look pretty darn sharp. Like I say, originally, just my thinking, I thought I'd do the yellow in the center, outlined by the white, but as I did a little research last night on their uniforms, the helmet, if I had green microcord, I'd have made a yellow bracelet with the white outlined in green, but I don't have, well, I do have neon green. That ain't gonna cut it. But on their jerseys, the sleeve, the cap of the sleeve there, it's just like it's a green jersey. They've got a white stripe outlined by 2 yellow stripes. So that's what we're gonna go with. The selection of microcord was pretty abysmal when I went yesterday to get the 10 feet of green, because I have plenty of green. Again, I have mint green, I have Mindbender, I have neon green, I have Dayglow, but I didn't have emerald green. Uh-oh. He's going to start talking about Thin Lizzy again. You say emerald. It's a good song, Thin Lizzy. If you don't know Thin Lizzy, look him up. They're on YouTube. Phil Lynott, singer and bass player. The popular incarnation, 2 guitars, had an American, Scott Gorham. Had an Irishman, Brian Johnson. The drummer was Irish as well. So was the bass player, Phil Lynott. But period of time, Gary Moore was in the band. Actually, 2 different times Gary Moore was in the band. Gary and Phil had a lifelong friendship till about the mid-'80s when Phil died. Here I am rambling, talking about music again. I'm going to cut this short because you shouldn't have to put up with this. Let's stop this. This is the outside stitch. It's about 5 afternoon. Let's see how long this takes to do the outside. Okay, got the first outside stitch done. That took me about 12 minutes that time, but I think I was quite a bit further down, rambling about, I don't remember, Thin Lizzy, I think. So, got one more stitch here and we'll be done with this side. And then just like we did before, we're just going to take this and send it back to the back. I may come up here a little further though. I want to keep it to the outside. There we go. Keep it to the outside of that. I don't want to have it try and crowd to the middle. And like we did before, I'm just going to take this under a couple there we go, a couple or three. Just lock it in on the back. Take my ginormous scissors here. Figure I'm using micro cord, I might as well have micro scissors, right? Okay. We need to put a little ball on the end of that. So that we can lock it in to start. Go up about 3 cords. We're going to send that from the back right out to the front. So we're 3/4 the way done. Now we just got to take this and do just like we did. Do it again like we did last summer. Let's twist again. Like we did last summer. And I'm thinking by now everybody's got a hang of how to do this, I'm hoping. So we'll do a couple stitches. What the heck am I doing? Okay, hello. More like that does not look right. I just got to pull it in. And we'll come back with this tool. I think I may have snagged the center or something. I don't know what's going on with that. There we go. Alright, disregard. Copy that, disregarding. So just continue forth, go under the cord, and I just pulled that out. We fought all that ways to get it in there. That was fun. Okay, I'm gonna hurry and finish stitching this, then we'll get back together. So we just got the last couple stitches here. And like I said, I don't know why it always wants to separate on this end. But we'll push that back together when we get it all done. One more stitch. Again, I think our Amount of cord worked out just perfect. Gave me just enough to work with without wasting too much. Okay, I just separated between the two cores there. Went through the middle, out the back, just so that it does that. Then we're going to go under coupler 3, come out, pull it tight, ginormous scissors, and snip. So now all we got to do is just kind of find these spots that look just a little funky and show it a little bit of love. Push them in, push them in. Overall, I think we've done a all right job. Just kind of pinch them together. Okay, we're a little funky right there. I don't know what you guys think. I think it's all right. Oh yeah. Hope this helps. Any questions, leave me a comment.